Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Saara Hannula. I'm an artist and now also a curator, which is actually not a typical position for me. I'm an artist and a researcher in the field of ecology and contemporary performance. And I represent the curatorial team on behalf of the four of us. So originally, the curatorial team consisted of 4 members. Besides me, there were Taru Elfving, who's the head of program at Frame Finland. Then Terike Haapoja, who's an artist and researcher like me. And Jenni Nurmenniemi, who's a curator at HIAP. You might be familiar with some of them already. Just a sec. Okay. So I wanted to come up here to introduce the concept of the open stage to you, and also to present the works that we've included in the program. And I'm hoping that this presentation will enable you to locate the works physically and contextually, and then to also draw connections between them and the general program of the conference. So a few words about the concept of OpenStage. OpenStage is an experimental platform for cross-disciplinary dialogue between the arts and other disciplines represented in the conference. You know what they are, because you are the people who represent them. From my perspective, the primary purpose of OpenStage is to facilitate encounters between people as well as other entities, non-human entities, and forms of matter, coming from diverse backgrounds, and to offer a place where their various perspectives and worldviews can meet, collide, and form unprecedented connections. Secondly, the open stage aims to make space for emergent and alternative forms of sharing and learning, as well as for critical reflection, coexistence, and contemplation within the frame of the conference. I guess the main point is that we try to create a platform where you can shift your mode of being and perception for a while, and if you want to withdraw and just be in a different mode of reflection for a while, the open stage would be there for you. As Philip stated an hour ago, we are currently facing a set of problems, so-called wicked problems, to which there is no solution. Some others might even claim that the word future has become obsolete, or that the future has been cancelled. Perhaps this is why it is all the more urgent that we come together to imagine, envision, and create a future, or multiple futures, as the title of the conference suggests. Personally, I think it's equally urgent that we develop ways of coming together that enable us to move beyond the current categorizations of fields, disciplines, practices, and methodologies. So if we are to respond to the multiplicity and complexity of the challenges at hand, we need to be able to move towards new forms of individual and collective subjectivity, communication, and collaboration, which Casper will be talking about later on, and to collectively reconsider and reassess not only the meaning of culture and knowledge, but also our ways of perceiving and moving through the world. So to be able to imagine a future and project life, human life, but also non-human life, beyond our collapsing horizons, it's necessary for us, I think, to access and develop a variety of senses, sensibilities, modalities and languages, and open up to emergent and potential, maybe morphogenetic forms of culture, instead of relying on the modes of organization that are most familiar or accessible to us at the moment. So here I'm happy to refer to the idea of a morphogenetic process of change, which Philip was introducing, and of culture as a deposit of unarticulated or unrealized possibilities and potentials. As an artist and as a curator, I believe that artistic practice and research has an indispensable role in the development of emergent modes of culture and collectivity, as well as in the co-composition of new and potentially more sustainable modes of being in the world. Art might help and even encourage us to face the uncertainty and complexity of the current situation and to become increasingly open and susceptible to the world and to each other. Again, here this notion of us includes, of course, not only us humans, but also the forces and actors that share the world with us. The call for proposals for the open stage began with 3 questions, which in my mind capture the spirit of open stage and the projects included in it. So I'm going to repeat these questions in case you haven't read them. What leaps of faith, means and ends are required in order to move towards cultures embracing the diversity of an expanded community of organic and inorganic beings? 2, what kinds of positions and practices of coexistence, agency and communication can be imagined into being in the face of threatening climate breakdown? And 3, where may the decentering of the human perspective lead to scientific and artistic modes of knowledge and representation, and vice versa? And we received tens of responses to the open call, and out of these tens of proposals we chose 5. Our aim was to construct a program which would both stand on its own, artistically and curatorially, while drawing parallels and forming potentially fruitful connections with the rest of the conference program. One of the projects, called Cultural Indicators of a Sustainable Food Cycle by Rundum Kultur, was cancelled as late as yesterday, unfortunately. But we have 4 projects left. And 2 of them, called Melliferopolis and Clyde Reflections, are video works. The 3rd one, Bios, is a performance, and the 4th one, Building Sound Collectives, is a participatory workshop. I'm going to describe these works briefly so that you have an idea of what's there, so that you can also choose. Hopefully you have the time to encounter all of the works, but if not, then you can choose based on the following descriptions. Okay, I'm going to try this out. Let's see. I hope you can see the map. Yeah, so the first work, which you've actually probably all encountered already, is called Melliferopolis, Honeybees in Urban Contexts, and it's located in the G Hall, so in the lobby where you entered. And it consists of 3 different short videos. The project that's like behind the videos, Melliferopolis, it's easier for me to pronounce it in Finnish, is an interspecies collaboration between a swarm of honeybees, or several swarms, and an international group of artists. Actually, I have a slide for this, I forgot, sorry. Like that. Melliferopolis was initiated in Helsinki in 2012 by Christina Stahlbauer, who's an artist, scientist, and a beekeeper, and Ulla Taipale, who's an independent curator, researcher, and a beekeeper, and is currently active both domestically and internationally. The project investigates the role of bees in the urban environment, as well as the relations between them and human beings, by placing beehives in public places and inviting local people to engage with the hives and the bees through a series of public events and workshops. And by enabling people to experience the sonic, aesthetic, architectural, and cultural aspects of the beehives, the project hopes to draw attention to the intrinsic value of honeybees instead of viewing and presenting them as mere ecosystem providers or honey producers. And so, like I mentioned before, the work consists of 3 different short documentary videos. The whole duration is about 15 minutes, so you will have plenty of time to see all of them, even during a coffee break. So I won't be describing them more closely now because we're running out of time, but you can read about them there by either in the abstract program or by the videos. So the second video work, called Clyde Reflections, is more like a feature film, 33 minutes long. It was produced by Stephen Harrell and Ruth Brennan, who are both from Scotland. And the piece is a meditative film based on the marine environment of the Firth of Clyde on the west coast of Scotland. I need to learn how to use this thing. So there you see a map of Firth of Clyde. I wanted to Google it personally to understand where it is, so there you have it. The Firth of Clyde is Scotland's largest and deepest fjordic system. During the process of making, Ruth Brennan conducted unstructured interviews with 7 people who have an intimate relationship or a specialist understanding of the Firth of Clyde. These people include a retired fisherman, a marine biologist, a diver, a marine conservationist, a spiritual leader, and a physical oceanographer. The interviews offering scientific, philosophical, ecological, conservationist, fishing, underwater, and spiritual perspectives were later combined with underwater and microscopic footage, like this. And by engaging with people who connect deeply with their environment, the makers hope to challenge a simplistic representation of this particular marine area and to reflect the shifting and multifaceted nature of relationships between people and place. So the multi-perspective film provides a creative example of how, these are the words of the makers, how landscape is not a fixed entity or separate from people, but rather dynamic, both in terms of its social ecological properties as well as the meanings and associations it produces. The third work, called Bios, is a performance, again 30 minutes, by Nina Åsevi, who's from Norway. It's a very visual and meditative piece, combining sound, video, and movement. And like Melliferopolis, the work focuses on honeybees. But this work attempts to develop new forms of expression around the colony collapse disorder, that is the extensive disappearance of honeybees. Sorry, I'm always late with these slides. The performance makes use of corporeal, sonic, visual, and textual elements in order to recreate an almost forgotten ritual world. That's what they say. And the work contrasts the big narrative of the vanishing bees and the crises with subtle movements and shifts as a way of reflecting on life and our ways of sharing the world with non-human beings. The work has been performed twice previously, but always as a different version. So Nina has created a third version of the performance specifically for us and for this stage. So you're welcome to see it on Friday at 11, from 11 to 11:30 in this hall. And then right after that, at 11:30, there's going to be a workshop by Casper. I'm going to describe it very, very briefly and then give you the floor. So basically, the workshop is called Building Sound Collectives, and the workshop investigates the role that non-verbal communication plays in the building of culturally sustainable collectives. And Casper has defined a culturally sustainable collective as a collective that has the capacity for generating, storing, and retrieving its own cultural patterns while being open to influences from other collectives. And the workshop focuses on the non-verbal aspects of the ways in which we interact and communicate with each other in order to establish a shared understanding of sustainability. And particularly on the importance of gestures and sounds in the process of building trust and forming relations that are not based on hierarchical forms of culture. And so now I would like to invite you to talk more about the workshop. I'm going to put an image of your face behind you.
Yeah, that's me. From the first,
yeah.
Thank you, Saara.
Yeah, sure.
And I would like to say I'm very, very grateful to be here. It's really great to have been chosen to be a part of it. And I'm sorry to have to torture you. I think you're all waiting for lunch, so I'm going to be maybe the last speaker. Well, I made this workshop before. This was in Copenhagen in last autumn. So I have tried it before. I'm not doing something to you that I haven't tried on someone else. Okay? So building sound collectives or building sound collectives, as you might have understood, there is a play on the words there. And talking about words, There's a lot of words today, all right? There's been, I don't know, did you count the words? I think there's been like 2 million words or something like that. It takes time to say the words, and it takes time for many people to sit on their chair while one person is speaking. Now, what I'm trying to do with these workshops is to say that instead of having a situation where you have a one-to-many relationship, I want to create I want to see what happens in a many-to-many relationship. I think that a collective is a very, very difficult thing to grasp, and it's very difficult to talk about it. We try to measure, we try to put people into different kinds of categories in order to understand what they're doing. So this workshop is basically about what happens as a group, when a group is working together doing some stuff. So what I'm coming with is some different methods and tools that will invite you to do what I call a reflection, a corporeal reflection. And I'm really also thankful for the words that we've been hearing today. And I think that Joe's talk was talking about embracing complexity, right? And how can you embrace complexity if you are only using one channel of communication? And this is what this whole festival or conference is about. It's about words, words, words. So on Friday, I would like to invite you to have a chance to try out different kinds of means of communication, which is going to be through gesture and sound. And you might think, okay, so this is some kind of musical or dance thing, and I have to be like a dancer or a musician. No. It's designed in a way where everyone can participate, no matter your background. As you see, people are smiling, right? And it's not about doing some crazy stuff just to be like artistical or something like that as well. It is very, very simple things that anyone can do. So I'm quite sure that you are not going to be feeling embarrassed. And if you are here in order to do some networking and secure a funding or something like that, I suppose it's not going to be impeaching your project. So just to conclude, on Friday at 11:30 at Hall D, as in democracy, we're going to meet and do a workshop. We're going to explore how can we build a collective on the spot with what we bring each other. And I'm really thankful for the words that Philippe was saying, that culture can be seen as a reservoir of unarticulated possibilities, right? So this is what you bring to this collective is what we're going to try to work with. So these are untested stuff that we bring, and we're trying to put it together in a new way. And this is the fabulous thing about collectives, about people, that we are able to build something right on the spot where we are. Okay? Yeah. And even in a mundane place, in a microscopical way, and these small scale things where we might be able to do stuff that will reflect what is going on a larger scale. Thanks for the words again. I'm getting smarter. Okay, thank you very much.